And according to the website Neighborhood Scout, which ranks cities on the basis of 17,000 local police agencies, Baltimore is #1 on their list, meaning that 99% of all other cities in the country are safer than Baltimore. Violent crime affects around 20 people per 1,000. Property crime affects slightly more than 50 people per 1,000. Well, as for education, in 2018, the city's high school graduation rate was 72.2%. That's good news, because since 2010, the graduation rate has risen 10%. But a local city initiative called Project Baltimore found that in 2017, 1/3 of all students in Baltimore City schools showed zero proficiency in math, and that 9 out of 10 students are not reading at grade level. All right, a lot to discuss, so let's do it with Ken Vecchio. Ken is a Republican strategist. And from the left, we have Scott Blakeman, a Democratic political commentator. Nice to have you both.
Nice to be here.
All right, Scott, I just read some of the statistics, and there are plenty more to go with it. So you can't really argue that the president is in any way inaccurate with his criticisms against Baltimore and the way it's being run.
The problem with what President Trump said is not the accuracy of a city that has problems like every other city in this country, but the intent of it, and I don't say this word lightly, was a racist, ignorant attack on Congressman Cummings.
But why is it racist? Why is it racist when we just showed that he has also attacked Nancy Pelosi and Bill de Blasio? He's no stranger to attacking people.
But, you know,
He's an equal opportunity offender.
Well, but most recently he's attacked the 4 congresswomen.
But how?
And he particularly goes after people of color. Now, my point is the difference between Bernie Sanders, as you posed in the piece. Bernie Sanders, like all concerned Americans like myself, yes, they're urban ills. It's not a Democratic or Republican problem.
So why is it not racist when Bernie Sanders or the
Sanders
BBC
does not attack
or
the people.
PBS or criticize Baltimore the way that
because
it's run?
Donald Trump attacked the people of Baltimore. You know what he said in the quote is, he said that no human being would want to live here, which is what he is saying is that the 600,000 mostly African-American people who do live in Baltimore are somehow subhuman. Look, I don't throw these words around lightly.
I don't know about that. Is that how you read it, Ken?
I'm sad. What's sad to me is that we're even debating this. This is a racist attack.
As that reference to be subhuman?
I look at this as like complete Looney Tune land. I mean, Scott is an intelligent man and I respect him. But this type of commentary is foolish, it's laughable, and unfortunately worse, it's dangerous because it's fueling a fake and phony race war. I mean, you couldn't have put it more succinctly, Michelle. President Trump is an equal opportunist offender. He has offended people across the board in the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation. He doesn't care. If he doesn't agree with you, he rips you to shreds. There is nothing inherently racist in his statements about that city, any more than there's nothing more inherently racist in Bernie Sanders' statements. Neither one of them are racist. They're talking about crime. They're talking about rats for real. They're talking about filth.
The
They're talking
reality
about
on
litter.
the ground is not very good.
This was a personal attack on Cummings because he had the audacity to do his job as chairman of the Oversight. Don't interrupt me. He had the audacity as chairman of the Oversight Committee to rightly criticize what's going on the border. Let me just say very quickly, this is nothing new for Donald Trump. I grew up in Brooklyn, just minutes away from Beach Haven Apartments, where he and his father were sued twice for racial discrimination. He has a history of racism. And with the birther movement in 2011 was racism pure and simple. The other. This is racism. And what really frightens me and what is dangerous, he is starting race baiting. He is the one who is emboldened white supremacists. No, this is sad that you don't see it that way.
No, it's sad that there's this constant fictitious diatribe about everything the man says.
So none of it bothers you.
Is turned into racism
Scott,
when it's not.
Are you concerned, though, about the general trend? And we'll put the president aside now. Are you concerned that anytime anybody criticizes the words, the actions, the policies of a person of color or minority, they're then labeled as racist? Because Nancy Pelosi, for one, has been facing a similar sort of reaction for some of her comments.
I love coming here and I think debating the issues. And if President Trump knew about any of the issues, he would not be attacking people personally. He would, first of all, he's the president. He can do something about Baltimore if he wanted to, but he doesn't care. In fact, Republicans have cut funds for urban funding. But the point is, everyone should see this. Let me ask you this. You know, Hillel said, if not now, when? Can you ever say that there is any, does it ever say to you, look, you got your judges, you got moved to the embassy, all that stuff, but doesn't it ever say to you, enough already? This is not how a president should speak. I don't want, if I had kids, I wouldn't want them to listen. Do you ever say that, Ken?
That is a valid point.
Yes, and I ask Ken,
the president has got plenty to tout in terms of the economy and the lowest unemployment rate for minority groups and small businesses flourishing for minority groups. Why go down this road? Why must he engage in every single attack? And this was a full-on Twitter rampage. Doesn't it just do a big disservice to him and all of his other accomplishments?
We have a vicious circle that's going on. It's a cycle that's not stopping because Democrats and other people on the far left are constantly attacking him. The man is a fighter, as he should be. He responds with counter punches. He doesn't start the fights, he finishes them.
Is it calling Cummings a racist, though? And I want to pull up one of these tweets because he tweeted, if racist Elijah Cummings would focus more of his energy on helping the good people of his district and Baltimore itself, perhaps progress could be made in fixing the mess that he has helped to create over many years of incompetent leadership. His radical oversight is a joke. All right, now you can say he has a point that Cummings should be doing more to help his constituents and that the oversight over everything that the Trump administration does is gone to the extreme. But where does he get racist from? What are the grounds of calling Cummings a racist?
I don't know where he came up with Cummings being a racist because I don't know anything about Cummings being a racist, and maybe Donald Trump knows something that I don't.
Wait, hold on,
let me finish.
Okay.
I don't know about that. I do know though where there is a direct, real racist comment is when Omar says that white men are who America should be afraid of the most. That is a truly racist comment.
Well, you're taking that out of context.
Elijah Cummings, I don't know anything about racism.
Right,
But I wish everybody would stop talking about race and stop taking comments that clearly have nothing to do with race and making it sound like it's racism, because that's what's keeping the separatism and divide alive in our country.
He is starting this and bringing this up.
You make a valid point about Congresswoman Omar, but that is for another topic of discussion. But, I mean, it is a problem, though, to accuse someone of being a racist without any founding. And you could say that the same applies when people accuse the president of that, and vice versa. The president himself shouldn't be calling Cummings a racist without any kind of grounds for it.
Well, I take no satisfaction in saying this. I never thought in my lifetime I would say this, but Donald Trump is an ignorant racist and a bully, and he is starting this race baiting. You know why? He thinks it's a good election strategy. Let me leave you one quick quote from Martin Luther King.
Is it fair to say that he's starting this race strategy?
No, it's not fair to say it at all, because there's nothing that the man has said in any way, shape, or form that squarely fits being racist. There's nothing that he even says. There's nothing he says that implies racism.
Scott, you do have a number of African American community members, leaders, pastors just today coming out in defense of the president. So why do they not find him to be racist?
You will always find the one Muslim who supports Donald Trump, or the one, yes, but it's a very small minority. Yes.
If it's African Americans, if it's Hispanics, he does have a ton of supporters that just don't regard anything he says to be racist.
Absolutely. You know what the most honest thing he said? When he said he could step onto Fifth Avenue, shoot someone, and his supporters would still back him. That is the most honest thing this untruthful president said. And frankly, I wish for once you, conservative media, would acknowledge these are racist comments.
They're not racist comments. There's nothing in them that's racist. She pointed out the one about Bernie Sanders. They're identical comments, yet Bernie Sanders is a hero to everybody on the left, and Donald Trump's a racist. It makes no logical sense.
No. He has a, as I said earlier.
How do you tackle that, though? How is it fair to then not apply the racist label to another white man who is making similar comments against Baltimore?
If Donald Trump visited Baltimore and said, I'm concerned, we need to help the city, there's all these problems, that's one thing. That's what Bernie Sanders
said. It was like a third world country, and it was like akin to a dictatorship in North Korea.
But the point is, I really hope...
Both used some very choice words in describing the situation.
I only hope the one thing that I would close with that, Martin Luther King had this great quote, and we are living in a time of similar racial strife. It was that history will record that the greatest tragedy was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. Ken, you're a good person. I hope you start standing up to Donald Trump.
Thank you so much. Scott Blakeman, Kendall Vecchio. Passionate, exciting, fiery, and intelligent as always. Appreciate it.